For this afternoon and tonight, a significant winter storm, including heavy snow with limited trainings.
Hello, and welcome to the SnowBrains podcast, where it's my job to interview the most intelligent people in the snow sports industry and pass their fascinating knowledge onto you, our listeners. I'm your host, Miles Clark. I'm a professional free skier, professional mountain guide, an Alaska heli ski guide, a UC Berkeley molecular cell biology graduate, the founder and CEO of SnowBrains, and I just arrived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming a few days ago for their biggest storm of the season so far. They've gotten over 50 inches out of the storm, and we've been skiing some of the deepest snow I've ever skied here. Jackson Hole already has 360 inches of snowfall this season, and it's only January 29th. We've been ripping deep snow, hucking cliffs, and laughing our heads off. When this place is deep, it's like nowhere else. Today's episode of the SnowBrains podcast is brought to you by Lakey. Lakey has been making ski poles since 1948 and has learned a thing or two over the past 75 years. Whether you're an Olympic caliber ski racer, weekend warrior, or aspiring backcountry skier, Lakey is the perfect pair of poles for every skier. Experience the innovative Lakey trigger grip system that provides the ultimate interface between glove and pole, providing exceptional comfort, performance, and security. Learn more about Lakey poles and gloves at lakey.com. Today's episode of the SnowBrains podcast is brought to you by your Northern California Toyota dealer. Whether you're conquering the commute to town or answering the call of some freshly powdered slopes, the new RAV4 Hybrid is there for all your Tahoe adventures. Featuring electronic on-demand all-wheel drive and a 210 horsepower hybrid engine with a 40 mile per gallon combined rating, it's made for action and made for the mountains. Visit buyatoyota.com/NorCal for more details and start your next adventure in a brand new Toyota, the official vehicle of Palisades Tahoe. My guest today is Johnny Collinson. John had climbed all of the 7 summits by the age of 17, making him the youngest person to have done so. He's a professional free skier who won the Junior Freeskier World Tour. He's competed on the Freeride World Tour. He's been in TGR movies, Sherpa Cinema movies, and he skis for Red Bull. Johnny's also struggled with some difficult injuries in his career, and he's overcome them all. John is also a fitness professional and is more ripped than just about anybody I've ever seen. Hello, Johnny. Welcome to the show. Thank you so very much for being here. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
We're stoked to have you, man. This is so fun. Already fun. Already enjoying just BSing with you before the show. So when did you ski last?
Yes, had a good day today. Yeah.
And what did you ski? Are you able to share your secret location?
Yeah, it was pretty top secret. No one knows about it. A little known place called Mount Superior. But yeah, had a great day. Got first tracks down Superior and a couple good laps like down the Emmas. So great day up here in Little Cottonwood.
And if you are listening to this, you can check his Instagram account from the 12th of January. They were up there for sunrise. Mount Superior is right across the street from Alta and Snowbird, and it's just spectacular shots. So check that out, that sunrise. What time do you think you dropped in?
It had to be probably like 8-ish.
Okay, so the sun hadn't even gone all the way down Superior. So it was right when the sun came out. Beautiful, man. So today I really want to dig into all that you've done with your life. You're young, but you've already done too much. So you've climbing the 7 summits, your pro free skiing career, your injuries, your family, your childhood, your fitness training, your relationship with Red Bull, and there's more. So we're not even going to get to it all, but we're going to try. So I'm going to start with some rapid fire questions, and then we'll dig down into your deeper stories. And actually, I lied there. I'm going to try something new that I haven't done yet. It's called the quick and dirty 3-minute life story. So it's something new, and it's an amazing way to connect with people. I do this with all the people I hire at SnowBrains, and I want to try it with you. So
nice.
Yeah. So like when I hire somebody, I tell them mine, and then I have them tell me theirs. It's just all, and right away you have a better connection. So I thought, I should start doing it on the podcast. But anyway, so if you're comfortable with it, man, we'd love to hear your quick and dirty 3-minute life story.
Yeah. All right. So Johnny Collinson, born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. my dad came from New Jersey. My mom came from Minnesota, met up at Snowbird Ski Resort where we lived until I was 18 years old. So my dad worked for Ski Patrol in the mountain operations the whole time. So we lived in the employee housing unit at the top of Chickadee at Snowbird. And my dad built some bunk beds in a closet for my sister and I. And we lived in those till I was 18.
Whoa.
And my mom homeschooled us in the winter. We'd go to public school down here in the valley in the spring and fall. And my mom homeschooled us. So we were a pretty tight little family unit. And then in the summers, my parents would rent out actually our apartment. They'd like sublease it. And we would live out of a van climbing and hiking and backpacking.
Wow.
So the mountains have really just been my playground since I was little. And when I was 4 and 5, those 2 summers we spent hiking the volcanoes. So we climbed most, if not all, of the volcanoes in the Northwest. And then by the time I was 18, I had started free skiing, and my sister, Angel Collinson, was competing alpine ski racing at quite a high level.
She's your big sister then?
Big sister.
Got it.
Yeah, big sister Angel. She was competing in alpine racing at a high level. Or actually, sorry, I was 16. And I was kind of just messing around, not doing much. And because I had started free skiing, so my summers were pretty empty. And my dad was like, hey, you need to find something to do. My dad was like, you have to get your shit together. And so that's when the 7 Summits idea came up. So then we did the 7 Summits the year I was 17.
Wow.
We did them all in a year, which is pretty cool. And then I graduated high school. And by that time, I'd learned I wanted to ski down all the mountains I climbed. So I chose to go into the free skiing path and start competing on the Freeskier World Tour. That's when I started to like pick up some sponsors and work with sponsors a little more in depth. And right after a couple years of competing, it kind of became clear I was maybe a better candidate for filming, which is pretty awesome. So my sponsors helped like put me in with Sherpa Cinema, and I filmed with them for a couple years. Then I moved on to film with TGR. So I've been working with them for about 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
So that gets me through till 2018. I was like 26 or something like that. And from there, I had this nasty string of injuries where I had like blew my knee one year, blew it again the next year, had a decent year, exploded my other knee the next year. And then we're skiing again this year and having the best time ever. So.
And here we are.
On
Mount Superior. I love it, man. Well, It's a great story. There's so much to get into. So let's rip through these rapid fire questions and start digging in, because I'm really infatuated with your 7 Summits and all of it, but I especially think that's so wild, man. So how many days do you ski per year?
I don't count.
Nobody does except for me. I'm the only nerdy one. What percentage of your days do you think are backcountry?
I'd say probably 90 are backcountry.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay, more than I thought. What's your biggest accomplishment in skiing?
I'd say like shelf life wise, I'm really stoked on. I once got second place at Red Bull Cold Rush.
That was sick.
Personally, I think I love the fact there's always a new corner to turn and something new to explore in skiing. So like the fire burns bright all the time. And I really love that.
What's your biggest accomplishment in life?
I'd say I'm like really stoked on, I don't know, that I feel like I've kind of learned all the pieces my parents gave me as a kid and then brought in what inspires me. And I was able to like create a career and a life based on those things. So I've been able to like use what I've learned from when I was a kid all the way until now and like build a life that I'm really happy to live.
It's insane how pivotal parents are. I mean, I guess it's obvious, but it needs to be said. Where's your favorite place to ski?
Wherever there's good snow.
If you had to pick some mountain ranges.
I mean, I love the Wasatch. I'm posted up here. I love Alaska. Basically, every range in Alaska is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Alaska's got to be the spot.
What would you do if you could not ski? And it wasn't like an injury. It was just for whatever reason you couldn't ski.
I don't know. There's a lot of fun stuff to do. I like biking. I like climbing. Pretty into like working out and fitness stuff. So all that stuff.
I think it's right. I mean, that's what I see when I follow you. What scares you the most in the mountains?
I'd say being unprepared.
What do you love most in the mountains?
It sounds cliche, but like the vibe. I don't know what it is, but you could be having a shitty day and you go for a walk, maybe in the foothills, and it's like your day just got better. And I don't know what it is about it. It's the movement, it's the energy of the mountain, it's being in nature, and it's like everything about it.
What might be the funniest or just a fun story or a fun accident you've had in the mountains?
Like the other day, we were skiing powder in the Emmas up Little. I was with Sam Cohen,
mm-hmm.
and it was just barreling like over the head. You could barely see. And then I was kind of following his tracks through this choke, and it rolled over. I was like, damn, I probably should stop, because like coming fresh off an injury, I'm trying to not like just send things.
Right.
And I thought it was just a little choke into an apron, and I stopped and looked, and it was a like good 25-foot cliff.
Whoa.
That he had just sent off. Like he didn't know it was a full accident, and he was laying like face down in his bomb hole, like, dude, like, don't come down. I was like, oh my God. So that was just like a couple weeks ago. So
I love it.
It was funny because no one got hurt, and it was a full accident. So,
and it was soft, so that's the key, which it has been in Utah this year. What's the scariest accident you've had in the mountains?
One that made my stomach drop the most was like watching my sister crash in Alaska once. I was up top.
Ooh.
And she like had this really nasty Tommy and ended up like blowing her knee. Ooh. And so I was just waiting up top watching him like get her off the hill. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the one that was the most stomach. I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable.
That's common. It's often, experience, when a friend is injured or, or worse in the mountains, those are often people's scariest story.
It was tough, probably just because like everyone was with her. So there was no radio comms, and I didn't want to be tying up the radio. Like, what's happening? What's going on? Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of like waiting for an update forever, like watching it. But
well, I'm glad she was okay. Scary stuff. Yeah, I agree. And on that note, how many friends might you have lost in the mountains?
Quite a lot. Like, yeah, they don't fit on two hands.
Whoa. Yeah. And that's common to hear, folks that have spent their lives in the mountains.
Yeah. Thing. We just did a safety week with TGR.
Right.
And they've started introducing like a kind of mental health component. And this guy, Stacy Bear, was talking, who's an ex-military guy.
Mm-hmm.
He had this interesting point that they have a lot of PTSD from the military.
Oh yeah.
But he actually has experienced more deaths from friends in the mountains than he did from his time in the military.
Really? That is interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like kind of blown away by that.
And that's something we don't talk about. That's why I like to ask people these questions, because we don't talk about this enough in our communities, because I think, we get PTSD from this stuff. And that's so interesting to hear that perspective, putting it in a contrasting, view with somebody who's been in the military, lost people in both situations, and said, "Yeah, I've lost more in the mountains." That's nuts. Wow, yeah, that's impactful. How many avalanches have you been in?
I've never been caught and buried. Mm-hmm. I've been in decently large, like sloughy avalanches, but was always able to ski to the side or hang onto the bed surface or something like that. So knock on wood, I've been pretty lucky in terms of like avalanche.
Me too. Stuff. Yeah, that's great, man. I knocked on wood as well. But yeah, great. That's awesome. I love that you haven't been caught and pushed and buried. You've been on ski trips all over the world. What was your favorite ski trip?
I have a lot of fond memories from Greenland. This one trip I did to Greenland. Whoa. Because we just ended up skiing a lot of stuff, and I was pretty fired up. I was young still and super gung-ho. But like BC always has been amazing. Yeah. Like every trip I go on to interior BC, it's like it always turns out to be pretty fun.
It's kind of the only true ski paradise in a way, right?
it's just like you can always ski because Alaska, I would say, has the best terrain and snow quality and etc. But like it has to be blue, and you gotta have a this or that. But in BC, it's like, well, you could hit a resort, you could go snow machine, maybe a heli or ski tour. You could ski in the snow in the sun. It's like there's just good skiing to be had.
Is there anywhere you've been that you would not go back to?
We had, I would say no. I would probably go back to anywhere with, like, we did this one trip to Albania and it was pretty wild. And the snow was actually decent and the mountains were really cool, but we were like relying on a helicopter to access. And that was, I'd say, the mistake that we had. So I would go back, but not in the same style that we did it.
And is there anywhere that you haven't skied yet, but you really want to go ski there?
I mean, there's actually a lot of stuff I haven't skied in the Wasatch. So that's kind of my goal this year, is to hopefully stick around home and like crush stuff here that I haven't skied. But destination wise, I'd love to go to Georgia.
Oh, me too.
There's like been some cool stuff, but I don't know. I also feel like I've burned a lot of Jet A flying around the world and stuff. I do like sticking close to home if I can now.
What's your favorite ski movie?
The first one that made like the biggest impression was Teddy Bear Crisis.
Okay, nice.
And then past that, Tangerine Dream from TGR was epic. And then kind of a later one, Every Day is a Saturday.
Okay, I don't know that
boys.
one.
I remember like Tim Durchee's segment in that.
Oh man,
like,
Durchee!
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
like he was on fire. It was insane because double flips were kind of new.
Yeah,
and he had so many in the bag.
God, he's still. You've met him, of course. I think he's like 6'4". He's too tall for skiing.
He's a pretty big boy. It's funny, like him, Nick McNutt, Ian Mack. There's a whole crew of them with TGR, and they're all big boys.
It's
they have to
weird,
go really big.
Yeah, it's
yeah, it's funny because they're so much bigger. They have to go bigger, or else things like look small.
Well, and just to get around, right? They need more space.
You wouldn't know if you just watched a ski movie. They're pretty like graceful, and then you meet him, and you're like, dang. You're a big boy. Yeah,
how are you doing this? Yeah, when I first met Tim, I just looked up to him and was like, you're too tall for skiing. But he's obviously one of the best skiers there is. It's crazy. What's your favorite book or books?
There's this book called Shantaram.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. And then past that, I really kind of like a lot of times just mindless reading, kind of like fiction or like science fiction, like
romance novels.
A lot of romance. Like sci-fi romance, you know.
I love sci-fi too. That's my thing. I'm so sick of reality.
Yeah, it's like it's just kind of nice. It's like watching a movie sometimes. Like whatever, I'm just getting tune out, read. But sometimes I'll read like cerebral books, but they don't tend to be my favorite.
Who has inspired you the most in your life?
My parents, for sure. My family, I would say. My whole family.
Impressive family, man. Well, you survived the rapid fire. Thank you so much, man. And now we're going to get we're going to get into the more in-depth stuff. And so my understanding, Johnny, is that at 17, you'd already summited all of the 7 summits, and you were the youngest person to have done that. So just to start, just tell what is the 7 summits?
Yeah. So the 7 summits is the highest peak on each continent. So that's Everest for Asia, Denali for North America, Aconcagua, South America, Kilimanjaro in Africa, the Vincent Massif in Antarctica, and then Europe. It can go a couple different ways. There's like political Europe or geographic plate Europe. So political Europe would be Mont Blanc. Mm-hmm. But then if you look at like the plates, it's Mount Elbrus, which is actually in Russia. And then same thing, it's like you can either go Australia or like Oceania.
Yeah.
And that Oceania is Karsten's Pyramid.
Right. And which one did you do for Oceania? And I
did
guess
that one. Did Karsten's Pyramid. And then Elbrus.
So the higher.
So we went more the like tectonic plate route.
Which makes sense. I love it. I read one thing that said the Sherpa people of Nepal called you White Sherpa. Is that true? And why did they call you that?
It's been so long. I'm like, I remember it pretty vividly, but in this day and age, I'm like, did they call me that? But what it stemmed from was the guy or the twins I was there with, Willie and Damian Benegas.
From Argentina, right?
From Argentina. Yeah, they were actually alpinists for the North Face. And then Willie was a ski patrol at Snowbird. So he worked with my dad. And that was actually when my dad was like to 16-year-old John, or 15-year-old John, he was like, look, because I just actually, this is a part of the story. Actually, I don't think I've ever told. I had just like gotten broken up with at 15. So I was all bummed, sad boy, and just going to the skate park and like whatever. I mean, I wasn't that bad of a kid, but going to the skate park and didn't have any big goals. And then Willie Benegas, he had just been broken up with. And my dad took a look at me and he was like, you need to set some goals, do something good. And he's like, Willie just got broken up with, Johnny just got broken up with. So he was like, all right, you guys need to go do some stuff. So me and Willie got really tight. And that's how this whole thing kind of started. Anyways, fast forward. So then Willie, especially, he'd had quite a few Everest summits at the point we went. I think I'd messed up how many he had, but it was like 5 or 6. It was probably more than that.
Wow.
Anyways, he knew the mountain really well and the communities on the mountain. And I think the Sherpas really respect him and Damien because they would do a lot of work to make sure the Sherpas were like taken care of and that they were traveling safely through the mountains, etc. So the guys I was with had the respect of the people there. And then we as a team, I didn't have a like climbing Sherpa with me, which meant that we shuttled a lot of our gear up the mountain ourselves. Not everything, like all my personal stuff we'd take up. So like sleeping bags, tents, etc.
So you're humping a lot of gear.
A bit. So we ended up being, instead of on the like normal client climbing pattern, we would go out with the Sherpas because they go out like a bit earlier usually, and they're just like faster. So we try and keep up, which like there's no way I could keep up. But they're beasts. But so we just ended up getting to like spend a bit more time with them. Yeah, I don't know. They were just like super fun, and they'd always like joke around, and they'd probably call me like the baby Sherpa or something.
That's cool.
It was a really cool time to get to hang with them for sure.
That is really cool, man. And then the other thing I read that I thought was so interesting was climbing Mount Rainier. You know, it was 14,400 feet at the age of 4. So did that really happen? Can a 4-year-old do that?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Which blows my mind.
Do you even remember?
No, I remember there was like a few sort of like foggy images I can remember. Like there was this defining moment when we started going up at some point. It was pretty dark and early, and we hit this crevasse. But like, you know, when you're traveling on a glacier, it's not always straight over a crevasse because maybe the trail turns. So then like the rope might be going left, but the trail is going kind of right, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And as a 4-year-old, I was like, what do I do? Because I was just staring down into this crevasse, and my mom was like, what's going on? You know, what are you doing? And my dad's like, what's going on out there? Because he was up in the front of the rope line, and my mom's like, nothing, John's just getting over the crevasse or whatever. And then my dad's like, what's it going to be, up or down? It was just like, just gave him a thumbs up, like, yeah, let's go.
We're all good.
And jumped over. So I have like a couple foggy memories, but not that many. I was too little.
And I interrupted you. You said it blew your mind. What blew your mind about it?
Well, it blows my mind now to think about, because it was always just like, yeah, we did it. And then we talk about it and tell the stories like, yeah, we climbed Rainier when I was 4, but I never thought about it much until recently, because my girlfriend's brother has some kids, and one of them is like 5 now.
Yeah.
So I've been like it like seeing what a 4-year-old is like. And I'm like, did I really do that at 4? Like I was 35 pounds.
Seems crazy, dude. That's why I love to
It
have
seems
the
wild. Like
verification.
if it was now, like I bet CPS would get called.
Yeah, I was gonna say they'd be
sure.
calling Child Protective
I
Services.
bet people like would have back then too.
Yeah.
But because I remember there's like some climbing rangers that my parents knew, and this one guy was like, "Oh, well, why don't we call like the local newspaper? They'd be psyched on this story." And my dad was like,
No,
absolutely not. Like not from that standpoint, but he's like, why would we want to like tell this story so then everyone would just want to bring their 4-year-old up Rainier? He's like, is that what you want at the park service? Is like a bunch of 4-year-olds crawling around up here? So that was pretty cool. And it's like, yeah, funny to think back and like pick up a 35-pound dumbbell and you're like, I could have blown away up there for sure.
That really puts it in perspective. Pick up a 30
because I was like a little kid, dude. And we were in like super like hand-me-down stuff or thrift store stuff. Like,
what did you do for crampons and ice axe as a little 4-year-old?
No, didn't have an ice axe.
Okay.
And because basically we were just tied into the rope, but
you're on the rope.
We couldn't self-arrest or anything.
And it'd be so easy for your dad to stop you.
Yeah, it's like we're 35 pounds. If I slipped and fell, I probably wouldn't even move the rope.
No. Yeah.
But for crampons, he took nail plates that you put nail into studs to cover up like electrical or plumbing when you're building a house.
Okay.
He just took some nail plates and tied them on our boots with string.
Whoa. That's so cool.
They're pretty funny. They're just these little like 2-inch by 1-inch or something with 4 little prongs with some paracord on them.
Okay, holy shit. That is just nuts, man. I love it. Well, I love the verification that that's real because I was talking to people about it today when I was skiing at Palisades Tahoe, and ski patrol buddies like, no way, give me a break.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll ask him. So I love it, man. That's so cool. Well, I'd love to kind of tease out a story from each one. So so we can kind of bang through these. So Everest, 29,032 foot Mount Everest. You already talked about it, but in China, Nepal, highest peak on Earth and the highest peak in Asia. What was it like climbing Everest? Do you have any funny or scary or interesting stories from Everest?
We'll start with Aconcagua, maybe.
Yeah, let's start with Aconcagua.
We'll go linear.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Okay, great.
So the first one I did was Aconcagua.
And I'll jump in really quick and just for the listeners. So 22,837 foot Aconcagua in Argentina, South America. Highest mountain on Earth outside the Himalaya, which is pretty cool. Yeah. On the longest mountain range on Earth, 5,500 mile long Andes Mountains. All right, that's it.
Yeah. Great, thanks. For Aconcagua, I was still 16 at the time.
Wow.
And I think I'd been on a plane before, but like never been out of the country or anything. And shit. I learned a lot from climbing with Willie and Damien. They run quite a loose program. Mm-hmm. And so I was 16, never left the country, going to Argentina. I feel like it was maybe the day before or the day of the flight. Willie called my parents, and this was like pre-cell phone. Like I didn't have a phone or a computer or anything. Uh-huh. And he calls my parents and he's like, "Hey, I just met this girl, like this flight attendant girl, and I'm in Seattle. And like, tell Johnny I'll meet him in Mendoza in 2 days or something, or 3 days." And at the time, it was just kind of like, oh, dang. Okay, like we just got to make it work, And then so I flew down there, and it wasn't until I was like in the air flying, and it was like, oh, what have I done? Like I have no means of communication. I don't know anyone down there, and landed in Mendoza, and then it like one of Willie's buddies had sent his buddy to come pick me up. But I didn't know because I was supposed to be with Willie. So I was like, just showed up at the airport and was like, what do I do? Like, do I call? And I'm like, well, no, I don't have any money, like local money. I was like, do I go to the currency exchange window at the airport? And it's like, no, I feel like people said that's a ripoff. And then this dude was like wearing a t-shirt that I'd seen the logo before because it was like an affiliated mountaineering company. Uh-huh. And so I was like, oh, I'll just go talk to him because he looks like maybe he knows something. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm here to pick you up." He ended up driving me up. Anyways, it was just
and you're only 16.
And I was 16, and it was just like, just got to like work on the fly with these guys, which I think it set me up well. Like they ran such a loose program. I was like, okay, this is what happens, and you got to be ready to like pivot all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was like kind of a funny entrance to like traveling internationally and climbing the 7 summits. So then after Aconcagua, went home and competed on like the junior free skiing circuit, went to Everest, actually flew out on my 17th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And so that was pretty cool.
And I'll jump in again. So 29,032 foot Mount Everest in China and Nepal, highest peak on Earth and the highest peak in Asia.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like a fondish memory was coming down from summit day. So we left Camp 4 or like the South Col at like 9 or 10 p.m., climbed up through the night and then reached the summit around 8 in the morning, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then descended, and it was like walking down Everest. It was so tiring.
Oh, I bet.
And you're just like trying not to like catch your crampons on your down suit, and you just want to like run down, but you don't want to ruin the boot pack for people. And it was just like, I never want to walk down a snowy mountain again. Like, because up to that point, like through Aconcagua and Everest, I've been seeing how the mountain community worked and all the different guiding services and how cool everyone was. And I was like, dang, maybe I'll be a mountain guide.
Yeah.
But like on summit day walking down, it was like,
scratch that.
Yeah, we're going skiing. Yeah, we're not doing this anymore.
Oh, I'm with you. I my first real mountain guide job was on Mount Rainier in Washington. And I walked down that. I've walked down that mountain over 50 times, 50 times. And it's like, this is, and it was hurting me. I think it's like, I'm done, no more. That's great. All right, nice. And then, so where did you go next?
So then we came home. We were in Salt Lake for like 2 weeks, and then went up to Denali. And actually, so another funny story here is the main goal was Everest, because that's what I always wanted to climb as a kid. It was like, Everest is kind of the big dog.
Oh, yeah.
If you could do that, you could do anything in my head as a kid. So we went to do Aconcagua as like a test piece, because I'd never been to altitude, never done like expedition style climbing, going up and down. So we went there as a tester, and it went super well. So then we went to Everest, and on the trek into base camp, I was on the phone with my dad or something like that, and we were brought up the idea because a bunch of the guides and climbing companies, they all do like all the 7 summits, and they're on like basically like circuit between different mountains. And so it kind of popped up. It was like, well, if we made Everest, like, what if we could do all 7 by the time I'm like in the same year? We're like, that would be pretty sweet. So on the I remember like we got off the phone and we were in Feriche, and then I like ran over to this other place called Gorchep or something. I'm probably mixing those up.
In Nepal.
Anyway, it's something on the way up to base camp, and started like putting in the permits for Denali. And cause like, all right, we have to, because you have to get them in a certain amount of time before. And so this was in April.
And sorry, did you know that you could be the youngest to do it at this time?
Yeah. So that was the goal. That was the goal. Like trying to be the youngest to do Everest, and then could be the youngest to do the 7, which we did as a sort of marketing play, honestly, to try and raise some funds. Because my dad was a ski patrol, and my mom
and I keep interrupting you, but how did you fund it?
They took a line of credit out on a house.
Oh my gosh, your parents.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, they went way out on the plank.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I could never, ever, ever thank them enough for for how much support they've shown me and my sister, it's just like astronomical, and the experience that they've wanted to give us.
Fierce parents, man. Yeah, continue. Wow.
Fierce parents. Yeah. So that was how the idea came up. And so we were home for 2 weeks after Everest. It was a successful summit. And then we headed up to Denali, and Denali was really cool. So that was the first one. We brought our skis.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And at this point, I only climbed Aconcagua and Vinson, which were the first and the last, with Willie Benegas. Okay. All the rest I did with his twin brother, Damien.
Very cool.
And yeah, so we went up and did Denali, and it was awesome. It was about as good as it could go. We flew in, we were already acclimatized from Everest, so we kind of marched right up to 14 camp, had Beautiful. A couple decent ski days. It was like weird ski conditions, so that wasn't the main focus. Mm-hmm. And then had a good sunny day where we went for the summit, got it, came back down, and then headed out. It was pretty like bam, 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 honestly.
How many days were you on the mountain?
Sounds like I want to say like 10 or 11.
Oh, that's quick. Yeah. When I guided it once, and we were up there for, I think we were 21 days. It's a long trip. And I'll do my quick spiel just so people have the background. So Denali is 20,320 feet. It's Alaska. It's the highest peak in North America. And weird facts here, it's the third most prominent and third most isolated peak on Earth after Mount Everest and Aconcagua. And some people think it's one of the more difficult ones of the summit because there's no porters. But I don't really believe that. Nice. So where did you go from Denali?
So the Denali, funny tidbit.
Yes.
Again, I feel like I'm maybe just going to throw.
Please do. This is what I want.
I want under the bus.
What funny tidbit. Well, I love Argentina. I spend a lot of time in Argentina, and I love the, different, loose, think on your feet, fly by the seat of your pants style. So I love these stories.
Yeah, they embody that.
Yeah.
So we had 10 days or 11 days on the mountain, and we were supposed to be home for 3 or 4 days.
Okay, wow.
And then we were flying to Russia, and from Russia straight to Africa. So
wow,
quick turnaround. And Damien only had a passport. That was his only form of identification.
Okay.
And we had to send it to like the embassy to get a Russian visa. So he had to use it to fly up to Alaska. And then we were in Talkeetna, and he sent it to the embassy. So we were just like crossing our fingers that by the time we get back to Talkeetna, like everything would have worked out perfectly and his passport will be at the post office. Or else it would have probably thrown a bunch of stuff, like just who knows what would have happened. But I was just mind blown. I was like, dang, all of this is resting on the passport being in the mail. But it ended up being fine. And it was no big deal. Passport was there. We flew home, and there's probably a funnier story in there, but whatever. We'll keep going.
No, it's fine, man. That's good. Keep going. It's these little tidbits, especially, these are stories nobody's heard before. So I love it.
Yeah. And then we were home for 4 days, flew over to Russia to climb Elbrus. And after coming from Everest and then Denali to Elbrus, it was just like such a different, everything was different.
It's almost like
it's like a hill.
Like less of a wilderness experience.
Quite less of a wilderness experience. Yeah, like took a gondola to the huts. It was like, did we just cheat? Like by doing this, should we have like walked up from the valley floor? And then the next day, the weather was so good and the snow was so firm. It was just like we just ran up in our tennis shoes and like carried our skis and boots on our back.
Whoa.
And then like skied back to the hut, and the skiing wasn't very good. It was just more of a way to get down fast.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, well, we had 11 days, I think, in country.
And you're already done.
Yeah. We hit it on the second day. We're like, all right. So then the next day there's 2 peaks on Elbrus.
Okay.
So, and one's just like a little bit higher than the other. So then the next day we went up and did the other one.
Nice.
And then and we still had 8 or 9 days left. So there's actually some like really amazing climbing out there, and these like pretty cool looking mountains. So, but the issue with it is it's right on the border of Georgia. And this was right at the time where there was kind of a big conflict happening.
Oh, right.
So we tried to get some permits for these pretty cool looking mountains that would have been pretty awesome climbs. Those got turned down. So we like ended up getting this like sightseeing permit that allowed us to like walk around a certain area. So we ended up like doing this pretty cool ridge traverse. It was pretty fun. It was like alpine climbing to like out like ridge scrambling, ending up in these like beautiful alpine meadows. It was like Sound of Music vibes.
Whoa.
And which was a total treat after being on Everest and Denali and stuff. So it's like, oh, we got green grass and flowers. We're coming down all stoked, and these 2 guys pop up out of a bunker because we were right on the border with full machine gun setup and like military guys.
Oh, holy shit.
Like yelling something in Russian, and we're like, oh, sorry, we like speak English or whatever. And it ended up being fine, but they just grilled us and like checked out our paperwork, and they're like, this is a sightseeing paper, like you're not allowed to be in this area. And we're like, oh, well, we thought we could just come up here. And they're like, no, you have to return back to Russia or something. And
well, that's heavy.
It was okay, but it was kind of a like trippy little moment for sure.
Wow. Yeah, definitely.
And then also another side note, a lot of the soup there, like we had a lot of soup.
Okay.
And there was, I feel like they use a lot of parsley.
Okay.
When we were there, and I never realized it until recently, like this summer. I was like cooking something with parsley, and I was just getting these like, you know how a taste and a smell can just like
flashback,
snack you back. I was like,
oh yeah,
flashback to like these like little Russian things where we were eating this parsley soup, and I was like, yeah, I'll always think of Russia when I think of parsley. But
that's great, man. I love it.
Yeah.
And I'll do the quick spiel so the listeners know. So Elbrus is 18,510 feet, highest peak in Europe. It's in Russia. And that's my only other note is that, there's chairlifts and some huts to stay in, and you already hit that. And so from Elbrus, where'd you go?
So then from Elbrus, we flew straight down to Africa to climb Kilimanjaro. And we met up with 2 of Damien's buddies.
Very cool.
This guy who actually owned the other climbing company on Aconcagua, Fernando Grajales, and another guy, Ryan, who lives in the States. So that one was super fun. We had like a little crew. And our itinerary was we were supposed to climb Kilimanjaro. Then we wanted to go on a safari because we were there.
Of course.
And then we wanted to go climb Mount Kenya, which is the second highest peak.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because it's like, a side note on this, almost all the second highest peaks are, I think that would be a way better accomplishment is climbing like the second 7 summits.
They're all like kind of gnarlier and radder.
All
more
gnarlier.
Yeah.
Like quite a bit challenging. Like K2, for example.
Yeah. Whoa.
I think it's Tyree in Antarctica. Mount Kenya in Africa. They're all just like a little bit more challenging. Anyway, so we ripped through Kilimanjaro like pretty fast. I think we did it in 3 or 4 days.
Well, and you kind of just walk up there, right?
It was pretty casual. We did a cool loop. So we went up one route and down another.
Very cool.
Totally blow the route names if I try and say them. But it was really cool, like the summit day, because we started pretty low, went up to the summit, and then descended like all the way down to the village that day, same day.
Big day.
There's like so many ecosystems you go through because you're like,
I heard that
high alpine to this to that to like rainforest jungle. It's just like it's wild. It was like a really cool day.
Wow.
And then,
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. So we were like running the whole time. And then, so then we went on the safari the next day, and we were all like, none of us could walk.
Oh, I bet running downhill is like proven to be the thing that makes you the sorest.
Yeah. We were like thrashed.
Yeah,
So
I bet.
it was a pretty sore safari day. And then we went and did Mount Kenya, which was awesome, except I ended up getting pulmonary edema for the
No
first
shit.
time.
After all that high
After
altitude.
all that shit.
Yeah. So really quick, 19,341 feet is Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, highest peak in Africa. And then Kenya is the second highest at 16,000 something.
Yeah.
So kind of odd. You've just been doing these super high peaks, and then you go to the lowest peak of them and get hate, as they say. But continue. What happened? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty weird because we were climbing all day and we weren't moving very fast, but once we started getting close to the top, I just started to feel sick, like just classic ill sick. And ended up, we didn't make the summit. We turned around a couple pitches short.
And you were rock climbing, right? It's like 16 pitches or something.
Yeah, quite a few pitches, but it's pretty, you can like simul climb a lot of it. We didn't place it, brought a pretty small rack. It's like
nice,
mostly mid fifth class, like
perfect.
Yeah, it was super fun. I'd love to go back and try and do it again. But yeah, I just started to feel like really weird and super slow. So I honestly don't remember all the rappels that well and the down climbing. But I just remember laying in the tent that night, and it was like laying down, I was just gurgling. It sound, the sound when you like blow bubbles in milk with a straw.
Yep.
It was just like that in my throat and in my chest. It was just like,
that's terrifying.
And my tent mate was this guy, Ryan, and he's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just don't feel good. And then at like 2 a.m. or something, he went and got Damien and was like, something's not right. And Damien was like, oh shit. Yeah. And so it was pretty late at stage at that point. I kind of waited too long to say anything. And so we were like, it was just immediate, like, we got to go now. Like, it wasn't, we'll wait till morning. Like, we got to go down now. Because that's kind of the only thing that helps is losing altitude. And yeah, I just remember it took us from the car to camp. It took us 2 hours to get up.
Right.
It took us like, I think 12 to go down.
Because you were so messed up.
So messed up, just so slow. It was like I'd have to take like one step downhill and then chill and like catch my breath. It was super weird. Like,
that's so scary. So just for the listeners, high altitude pulmonary edema, it's basically, it happens at altitude. Fluid starts just going into your lungs. So your sort of intercellular fluids just starts pouring into your lungs. And so it's as if you're drowning from the inside, and it's the number one killer at high altitude. So and the only, as Johnny said already, the only way to cure it is to get the person down as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So continue. So it took you 12 hours, and then?
Yeah, it was wild. And then, but it was all good. We like got a ride and then went to the hospital, which like I was kind of spooked going to a hospital in Nairobi.
Right.
But it was really nice, actually.
Oh, good.
Like super clean and nice and in and out. They just took some x-rays. There wasn't much they could do because once we were down there, I felt better.
Right. You still got to get checked out.
Yeah. And then we went home for a little bit. I want to say a couple weeks, maybe. No.
To try to get you feeling better too, right? Or no?
Yeah, because we'd already like put deposits down for Karstens, which also isn't that high. It's like 16 something. But it was like, whoa, shit, I just got HAPE at this altitude. So we tried to like see a bunch of specialists for it and do some research when I was home. Because I think we were home for maybe a month or something like that.
Which makes sense to make sure you're healthy.
Yeah. And so what we ended up doing, it was like, all right, well, we'll go, because Karsten's pyramid is in Indonesia, right on the same island as like Papua New Guinea.
Yep.
We like ended up flying into Denpasar in Bali like quite a bit, like a week early. I think so. Our thoughts were like, well, what if we just hung out at the ocean and the beach?
Yeah, Bali.
A week before. And that trip, it was so cool. Like, so different. I mean, that's what I loved about the Seven Summits experience, was how different everything was. Like, from Mount Everest in the Himalaya to Denali, which is just this like beautiful, pristine park. And then all of a sudden we're island hopping through Indonesia to get to this like 2-week jungle trek. So just like everything was awesome. And I was 17, so just like eating it up, you know.
I bet, man.
So it's pretty cool. I think it took us a week to get from Bali to like the island that the mountain's on. We like take a plane, like a little island hopper plane, and then stay in some cool little bungalow and eat fish, like fried fish that they just caught right there. Yeah, so it was just awesome. And then we're like swimming in these like blue waters, like full paradise. You know, and you're like, what are we doing? And I didn't even bring a bathing suit or anything. So we're like swimming in our jeans and shit. Like,
whoa, yeah, I love it.
We're like, we're going to climb a mountain. And so we had like I had like a backpack with like a climbing rack in it. Whoa. And then a sleeping bag and a tent. Like that was kind of the only stuff we brought.
Wow.
And so, no, if you're going to climb Carson's, bring a
swimsuit, bring some trunks. Yeah, I spent quite a lot of time in Indonesia surfing, and I mean, you're feeling the same vibe that I feel there. I love it there. It is so special, cool. So special. Yeah.
It was so cool. And then,
you're probably taking those little Lion Air flights from island to island.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of different names for that big island that the mountains on that you're going to climb, but Irian Jaya is one of them.
Okay. Yeah. That experience, like that trip was super cool, just like so unique. And I never thought I would ever go to a place like that and get to experience it. Felt so exploratory. And then like, I mean, there's endless stories from that trip for sure. It's I think there's 10,000 different dialects spoken on that island.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's
and
incredible.
And then like the route to the mountain is always changing. So you need, so we were there with a guiding service because it's pretty hard to go by yourself.
Really hard to get permits.
Yeah. So we like tagged on to someone else's permit. Smart. With the idea that Willie could be kind of a tail guide if needed. Or Damien. Sorry, I was with Damien. And then from there, you had to have like a local translator.
Of course,
that was well-versed.
In multiple languages.
He has to kind of figure out every little step of the way. And it just changes all the time. Like the route, the villages you go through, who's in control of what.
Gosh.
And like some places you had to have a like military escort. And then... And we were carrying around duffel bags of like cash and cigarettes to like bribe the tribes. Cause some of them would be like, 100 packs of cigarettes and you can go through and use our bridge or whatever it might be. Or some guys wanted cash. In this one village, they wanted us to pray. So we ended up like praying for multiple hours.
Really?
Yeah. And then
that is an epic experience, man.
It was really wild. And they're just cruising around, you know, the native people, and they're just cruising around the jungle. A lot of guys, they would just have the traditional garb, which is like the penis gourd and a bow.
That's it.
They're like mobbing the jungle, full barefoot, penis gourd and a bow, and that's it. And like usually some sort of like decorative like necklaces or piercings and things like that. But it was so cool. Yeah,
incredible experience, man. And
then the weirdest part was like you trek through the jungle, you're like feeling like a Nat Geo explorer or something, and you're like, this is the craziest experience of my life. And then you get to the mountain and there's one of the world's largest copper mines right there.
I heard that.
So you pop out of the jungle and there's like humongous bulldozers and mining equipment, like a stone's throw away, a couple miles away.
A juxtaposition of realities.
Yeah. Wild. And that's caused a bunch of issues. Like when we were there was like some big strike. But this guy who used to patrol at Snowbird, he guided for a bit. And on one of his trips there, things went like crazy south. For them, and they had some big issues between like the mine and the tribes that they had been using as porters and stuff. It was like...
You hear about violent confrontations there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whoa, scary, man. Yeah.
It was pretty wild, but it was all good. And then from there, we decided, since I was already over in that part of the world, decided to try and climb and ski Cho'oyu, which is not part of the 7 summits, but it's an 8,000 meter peak. It's the 4th highest in the world.
Wow.
So that was just sort of we're like, that would be pretty sweet. And Willie was into it. So Damien actually left. I was left in Indonesia alone at 17 for, I think it was like 10 days.
Right. With no drinking age.
Yeah. I didn't have a single bintang, that's for sure. I did get my first tattoo though there.
Oh, that's cool. What'd you get and where?
Oh man, it's gone now. Got this massive tribal piece on my back.
Cool.
It was a good start, but
you covered it up.
Not the most artistic. It's covered now.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
But anyway, so that was a funny. It's like, dude, because there's like tattoo shops every 2 feet there.
There's some of them are really cool too. I've seen some incredible. Cool. I've seen some incredible art from down there.
Amazing stuff. But this was like 2010. I was 17. Probably found the dingiest shop possible. I think I paid like $70, and it was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, that it was hilarious. And then, anyways, I kept the tattoo hidden because my dad. Doesn't like tattoo. Or I should say my parents don't like tattoos.
Right.
Kept it hidden until I was like 25 because I was.
Whoa.
And I was just afraid of disappointing him. But anyway, so got a tattoo, stayed in Bali for 10 days, and then flew to Tibet. We flew to Kathmandu to meet Willie.
Okay.
And then we took a bus up to Choyu.
Tell me what it was like skiing Choyu, man. I mean, I feel like this is another story nobody knows, you know?
We didn't get to the summit. We skied from Camp 3, which is pretty high. I think it's like 25,000 feet.
Jeez.
And it was really cool. I mean, it was at 17, I was like, I wanted to be on the Freeride World Tour. I was like, I'm going to freeride Choyu.
Yeah.
And like skied a couple pitches, like, I don't know, probably about 1,000 feet or so. And it was like, didn't think about like the output of skiing versus just walking. And it was like, just laid me out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, I should have probably skied because I just tried to charge it because the conditions were actually decent.
Oh, nice.
But then I ended up getting HAPE again.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Which I think there's because we were trying to go fast. Like we brought half sleeping bags. So we just wear like a down jacket with a half sleeping bag.
And you're coming from sea level.
Yeah. So we it would have been cool if we made it happen. But in hindsight, it's like, just bring a full sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, a crazy gnarly alpinist that does that stuff all the time. But I'm not that guy.
Right.
Anyway, so I got pulmonary edema again, but not nearly as bad.
Good.
But so that clipped the summit bid and went home. And then what happened? So that was fall. So then I started my senior year of high school.
You're still in high school. I love it.
It was so funny. Like going back to high school and everyone's like, wait, where have you been?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, all over kind of.
Couple places.
Couple places. Like, what state is Everest in?
Yeah. Right.
And
it's like next to Texas.
Yeah, it's over that way. And then in December, and then we flew down to Vincent in December. And so that one, it was like multiple flights. You end up down in like the southernmost tip of Chile.
Yeah, Punta Arenas.
Yep, exactly. And then from there, kind of the hardest part is getting onto the continent. Crazy weather systems and stuff. And then, because you could it might be perfect weather everywhere. You take off Punta Arenas and then all of a sudden a crazy ice storm will hit the landing strip in Antarctica. And it's like, you can't land in it. So I think we didn't wait too long, but it was maybe a week or so before we flew down. And then from there, it was pretty gravy, honestly. Like the wildest part of it was no smells.
Oh, tell me about that.
I mean, there was just no smells.
That's so weird. I've never been anywhere like that.
And like it took someone saying something to me to realize it. It wasn't like I was cruising. I was like, wow, that's weird. I can't smell anything.
Yeah.
But it was someone who was like, yeah, have you noticed that there's like nothing to smell and it's all just kind of frozen. I was like, oh yeah, you're right.
Oh, that
And then
is so
also
weird.
the sun was up all the time.
Yeah, just doing
So
loops.
doing loops. And so like nighttime kind of was when it was like behind the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I brought my skis on that one as well, which was awesome. And Willie, again, he was guiding. Yeah, so he was guiding an actual trip to make that one happen.
Smart.
Yeah, because it was just so gnarly expensive.
It's so expensive to get down there.
Yeah, and then the deal was, so he was guiding, and then I was I just tried to help out however I could, like helping huff gear around or set up clients' tents or cook dinners, etc.
Great.
So it wasn't in any official capacity, but I think we might have gotten a little discount or something. But
Great.
It was funny. There's some rule where you can't bring your skis.
What?
Like the company didn't want me to bring my skis, but we were already in Punta Arenas and like had my skis and boots. Like, yeah, you can't bring that.
What?
And it was like, yo,
we got to.
What? Like, I'm not about to score a pair of like mountaineering boots down here in Punta Arenas. You know, like, they're the only boots I have.
Yeah.
And if I'm bringing my ski boots, I'm not bringing my skis. So
right.
Can't remember how it got talked out, but yeah, ended up being able to bring my skis, which was so nice because on summit day, I think I made it to the tents like 8 hours ahead of the team.
No.
I was just like conked out because I started water and stuff and then just passed out. And
were you the only skier?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
that's what the issue was. Yeah.
And what was the vert?
I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was kind of far and it wasn't, because it was a client group, it wasn't the fastest moving. Like it wasn't, if it was just Willie, he would have been like
running.
Well, he would have been skiing, I guess. Yeah. Really. But so it was pretty nice to have skis there.
8 hours before the rest of the group.
Yeah, or something like that.
No, but I believe it. I believe it because, I work with clients and they move slower on the downhill because, sometimes even on the uphill because they're so tired too, right? Yeah. It's a long day.
Yeah, it was like super long day and it was so cold.
Yeah, how cold?
I want to say like -40.
Yeah.
Some like in that range.
Wow.
And up top especially it was like super windy.
Oh yeah.
And it just takes it out of you, the cold wind. Man. So I was really psyched to like, because I was pretty tired too, to just be able to strap on my skis and it was just like, see ya. Like,
late.
I'm out of here.
What was the skiing like?
Horrible.
Yeah. But fast.
But fast.
Yeah.
So
firm, right? Yeah.
Fast and firm. It was like pretty like sun cupped.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Kind of refrozen sun cup.
Midsummer.
Like, yeah.
Midsummer and it's -40.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It was super weird because you get like a sunburn on this half and your back would have like frost on it.
Whoa. I've never heard of that. That makes sense though. It's like you're in space.
It's totally like you're in space. Or like the tent, it's like one side would be totally solar baking and the shady side would still have frost.
Whoa, that I've not seen, especially on a human body. That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm probably exaggerating, but it gives you a good visual.
No, but I think that I've seen pictures like that too. And I like Jimmy Chin type of stuff. Today's episode of the SnowBrains podcast is brought to you by your Northern California Toyota dealer. Hit the trail and discover your next Tahoe adventure in a Toyota Tundra TRD Pro Hybrid, featuring an available iForce Max hybrid engine that generates an electrifying 437 horsepower with 583 pounds per foot of torque. The TRD Pro also tows up to 12,000 pounds, so you can take the adventure with you. It's made for endurance and made for the mountain. Visit buyatoyota.com/NorCal for more details and start your next adventure in a brand new Toyota, the official vehicle of Palisades Tahoe. Today's episode of the SnowBrains podcast is brought to you by Lakey. Well, Lakey is known around the world as the leader in poles. Did you know that Lakey makes some of the best gloves and mittens in the industry? Top quality gloves and mittens crafted from 100% goatskin leather deliver exceptional comfort, craftsmanship, warmth, and durability. All Lakey gloves work in perfect harmony with Lakey trigger pulls, but also work seamlessly with any brand of pull on the market. Experience Lakey gloves and mittens today. Learn more at leki.com. And what kind of blows my mind to segue to free skiing is you also won the Junior Freeskier Championship when you were 17. The same year you finished the 7 summits.
Yeah.
How did you juggle competing and on the tour and then also doing the summits, and especially at such a young age? It's crazy.
Well, it worked out good because we finished the 7 summits so we summited Aconcagua with 367 days. So we actually didn't do it in a year.
Just over a year, 2 days over.
Just over a year. And it was because we got delayed in Punta Arenas for a week.
Of course.
Buzzed down. We wouldn't have got it. Totally not our fault. But anyway, so it's 367 days. I was back in North America like mid-January.
Oh, and you're done.
Done. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
So we were done. So that was scratched off, and then it was.
And you're frothing to ski now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at this point, I'd started working with Black Diamond and North Face, and Smith in more of a ski capacity.
All right.
More ski focused at least, because that's what I was like. Yeah, I want to ski, and. So I was super excited. I think North Face maybe sent me a jacket.
Yeah, you're pumped.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, mind blown. And so then hopped in on the Junior Freeskier Tour, and ended up winning the overall that year.
Wow, congrats!
Awesome.
Yeah, that's so huge.
Yeah, it was because it's just those little things where it was it was a goal and then reached it and then was able to kind of do something with it. Yeah, you use it as a tool. Yeah. Where it was it could have just been a solitary, won that. But I was able to take it, just be it with the brands I was working with and the support I was given. It was cool, I can take that win. And then I was pre-qualified for the adult tour the next year. Huge. It was just I was just able to go to events and ski in them, and it was just little things like that just made such a huge difference in creating the lifestyle and the career I've been able to live. It's huge, man. What a tool. And so when you were pre-qualified for the next year, was that the Freeride World Tour or the Freeskier World Tour? The Freeskier World Tour. Okay. So then you started doing Freeskier World Tour. Yeah. And so I was on that. So that was when it was the Subaru Freeskier World Tour, which was so fun. That era of competing was so fun. It was it was Chuck Mumford pre-Pit Viper. Right. Tab Key, Griffin Post, Guerlain Chichery, Julian Lopez. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I used to do some of those comps. Yeah. So it was such a good time traveling and competing with all those guys. And because you just ski. That's rad. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're going to Kirkwood. And then it's oh, it's snowed. Yeah, we'll just ski bell to bell all day, every day. With some of the best skiers. Some of the best. Yeah, Lars and Silas Chickering. Oh, man. Yeah. Ryan Hawks. Oh, yeah. Love you, Ryan. Yeah, miss Ryan. Yeah, so those were good years. Yeah, I'm so glad, man. So that was my next question. What was your experience like on tour? And you pretty summed it up pretty well. And then I feel then you used again these successes on the tours to leverage into filming. And so so how did that transition happen? So I finished 7 summits, won the junior tour, and then I had met the guys through my buddy Leo Ahrens, who I grew up with skiing. I love Leo. Remember, I was crashing on that couch with you and Leo and Whistler back in the day with Jake. Yes, you remember that? Dude, and our funny Justin Bieber jokes. Yeah, continue. Absolutely. Leo is a beast and an artist. He's amazing. Yeah, he's great at everything. He's one of the most talented people I know in every aspect. Naturally pick something up. He's oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So he introduced me to the Sweetgrass Boys. It's oh, cool. Michael Brown, Ben Sturge, Nick Wagoner, and Zach. He introduced me to them, and they were starting to film their movie Solitaire, the one they did in South America. Right. Yeah. So they invited me to go film down there, which is my first ever kind of real film experience with the company.
Oh,
So
nice.
we lived in Las Leñas for like a month or a month and a half.
Do you remember what season it was? What year?
It was 2011.
I was there in 2011 for like a couple of weeks in August after that big storm. It was epic, and it hasn't been that good since, dude. So, but continue.
Yeah, dang, that's interesting. Yeah, so we were there that year, and then filmed a bit with them, and then the first two events, which I wasn't planning on when I went down there, but the first two events for the Freeskier World Tour were in Chile, one was in Colorado over in Chile, and the next one was in Leñas, I think.
I think so too.
So I ended up staying down there. I was there for like 3 months, I think, overall.
Wow.
And then, which was so fun. I was still 17 or 18 right in there, and like
so fun.
Yeah. And so just the lifestyle of like South America you were talking about is
I
so
love
fun.
it down there.
You just like meet a random homie. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're having asado tonight. Like, come over." And it was just so fun. So then
they're just constantly hugging you, kissing you, and inviting you to asados. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And asado is just a barbecue.
Yeah. And then, so it was pretty cool. Went from Leñas up to Buenos Aires. I was in Buenos Aires for like a week staying with a friend that I met from the Karsten's Pyramid trip.
Oh.
He was like kind of this baller dude in Buenos Aires. And he was like, "Yeah, come to my pad." Ooh. I stayed in his guest house. He had this like massive guest house.
Wow.
I think his wife was like the CEO of Beak, like pens for Latin America.
Whoa.
And he ran like ESPN Latin America or something. Like he was kind of a big dog.
Yeah.
Like, and so he hooked me up, just showing me around the city. And then I took a bus over to Chile, competed at that event, and I did pretty well. I think that those two events were my best results on the adult tour. I got like a fourth and a fifth or something.
You're in the flow.
Well, I had this back then, and competing on the junior tour, I like Ian McIntosh was my guy.
Okay.
I was like, I want to ski like Ian Mac and Hugo Harrison. Yeah. So I was skiing on like flat tail charging skis, 2x4s. And then it all sort of changed the next year because they introduced air and style as a judging category. So I was like, oh, you got to start doing tricks. So then I started to do tricks more, which I hadn't done before.
Okay.
And I couldn't finish a contest. Like, cause I just
trying tricks.
Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, well, I got to go 360, the biggest cliff on the venue.
Right.
And so like, yeah, so the contest, it just like didn't quite work for a couple years. Like I'd do it and have like pretty cool runs, but I just couldn't finish. And luckily my sponsors, they didn't dump me, but they saw what I was doing, and they're like, that would probably be better applied to filming.
And because filming, you're going to get better conditions too, right?
So better conditions,
you get the better chance of landing.
Prize, like, et cetera, et cetera. And so then they linked me up with Sherpa Cinema, and I filmed, and when was that? Yeah, so then my first film trip with Sherpas was for All I Can.
Oh man, such a good movie.
Yeah, such a good flick. And so I got to go to Greenland with Ingrid Backstrom, Callum Pettit, and Dana Flair.
Whoa.
And Adam Clark and the Sherpas. It was a squad.
Yeah.
And we had actually like really good conditions. It was this really cool trip. It was awesome. And like right in that time, I was invited on this matchstick trip with Drew Tabke, or that Sherpas trip. I think that was the year Ian Mac broke his femur. And that's why I got the spot on Greenland.
That is how so many pro skiers' career starts.
Yeah. See, that was it. That's it. I haven't thought of that in a while, but it was that year. So by him breaking his leg, that opened the door for me to get in. Because it was like a North Face kind of expedition / Sherpas trip.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, who else on the North Face do you got?
Yeah, it was like my foot in the door kind of expedition for sure.
Huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then I filmed with them the next 2 years as they worked on Into the Mind.
Oh man, that movie. If listeners haven't seen that yet, that might be my favorite ski movie. Continue.
Really? It's pretty wild.
It's so good.
Controversial, or not controversial, but I'd say mixed reviews on.
Yeah, it's outside the box. So if you want like the bang bang bang, normal ski movie, it's not that. This one's got a lot more soul.
Hammer segments.
Oh yeah,
like Kai and Callum ripping up in Bella Coola.
Oh, and there's shots of the people in Nepal and all that too.
Yeah.
Like the
really
soul
cool
side of it is it's one of the best. It's so, and there's just was nothing like it. It really opened the door to a new genre in our industry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then after that, so that was like a super fun couple of years working with those guys. Like I love the Sherpas boys. They're so fun. Like Massa, Malcolm, and Crosland. So, and everyone they hire too is always great.
Nice.
And then I started to film with TGR the next year.
Very cool, man. Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. It was pretty surreal because so my sister, I said earlier, she was a high-level alpine ski racer. And at 18 or 19, she was slotted to potentially make the like D team.
The U.S. ski team.
The U.S. ski team.
Yeah, the D team's the development team.
Yeah. And then, but they did this thing called building the team. So they ended up taking all girls from the year below Angel that year. So she like missed her spot basically to make the team.
Interesting.
So she was going to start going to school. She was really into like environmental law and she wanted to study that at the University of Utah.
Good for her.
Good for her. But I had started free skiing at that point, and I had raced previously too. And the free skiing world is just leaps and bounds different than racing.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of like, I mean, it was just the first year in and I was getting free gear. I was getting a couple small checks here and there, filming. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. So I was like, Angel, you have to compete on the tour. And she was like, okay. So she ended up like driving our family Honda Civic to Revelstoke, sleeping on my buddy's floor that she didn't know, competing. She was wearing a like ski patrol jacket my dad gave her because it was red. So it
no way.
See it, because we were like, oh, you have to wear bright colors so the judges can see you.
Of course.
So she was in this like 1990 Snowbird ski patrol jacket or something. Like I might be messing things up, but like I remember that. And she did super well. I don't know if she won that one, but she was on the podium, her first one.
Whoa.
And so she was kind of hooked right away. And so she ended up just crushing it, like podiumed, I think, every event that year, got invited to ski on the Freeride World Tour in Europe.
Wow.
And did extremely well right out the gate there. And then I remember this one day we were skiing at Snowbird, this epic POW day. We were in the tram line. She gets a call from TGR. From Greg Epstein.
Whoa.
And I felt like it was kind of out of the blue. She was like, hello. She's like, it's TGR.
Who is this? Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, they're wondering if I want to go to Alaska. I was like, what? She's like, with Sage, Seth, and Dana.
Whoa.
I was like, what? And so that was like Angel's first call from TGR was to go to AK with Sage, Seth, and Dana.
Holy
and I was
strudels.
Like, oh my God, like unreal, right? And so then it was pretty cool. Like, I think it was maybe 2 years later or maybe a year later that they called me to go film.
Oh, man.
So I don't have like the same exact memory. I just remember that, like being in the tram line with Angel when she got that call. I was like, oh my God, like this stuff is happening. Like, we're doing it and
we're making it.
I don't remember the phone call I got from TGR as well, but it was pretty awesome as well. And I got invited to go sledding with Sage, Nick McNutt, Durchie, Dylan Hood. They kind of had this whole posse ski and POW up in Wyoming. So I went up there for a couple days, but then the first real trip was for like a week after that and went over to Le Grave with Ian Mack.
In France, wow.
In France, yeah.
That's heavy, man. How was that out there?
It was awesome. It was really cool. And It was, but it was right after I'd finished like the 7 summits, and I was still doing quite a bit of, or that all that was like pretty fresh in my mind still. So kind of mixing up the skill set felt kind of natural.
Great.
Oh yeah, and Todd Laguerre was there too. Yeah, he skied with us for a bit. He just ended up going home early. I think he hurt his knee or something.
Yeah, and just for our listeners, he's mentioning these folks. And so Sage Catabriga-Alosa, Seth Morrison.
Yeah. My bad.
No, you're good. Dana Flair. I'm trying to think of any other names that we didn't complete. But yeah, just in case people don't know.
Yeah, totally.
I know it's cool when you say it like as buddies. And then I can kind of come in as the nerdy square and like tell like this is who they actually are. And so so you were charging along, and all these good things are happening. You're in, I think you've been in like 9 ski movies or something like that now. And but if there's more to tell more. But my next segment is your injuries, because I know that there was a point when you started getting injured, as you mentioned in the beginning. Yeah. But if there's anything else between this and when you started getting injured, it was I mean, it was like super fun. Who could complain about 9 years or however many years of getting to ski with TGR and all these athletes and stuff. But yeah, it was kind of, those were pretty pivotal moments. And then it felt more like each year it was like, okay, I get to film with TGR. I get to work with the same brands. And so it was more about like the places I got to go. Oh yeah. That changed, but there was less, I feel like, big pivotal life-changing moments, like in terms of career-wise or where my life was headed. Which makes sense, right? It's like the opening of that door was insane. Yeah. Your eyes were dinner plates. Yeah, totally. And then you got in there and created a routine and got into a rhythm and did your job, in a way. Yeah, exactly. So that's where it felt like it was like, okay, this is kind of like a job. Yeah, this is who I am. Doing this for years, and then blew. Yeah, and then added bad string injuries. And if you're comfortable, I know it's not the funnest thing to talk about, but I think we all learn from this. And I've been through this kind of stuff too. So let's just start. What was the first serious injury? Yeah, so I'll just do like a brief overview. Yeah. In April of 2018. So it sounds like you were filming from like 2011 until 2018, and when you first got hurt. Yeah. And then. Yeah, so I was up in BC. We were shooting at Selkirk with Matchstick. Blew my knee for the first time. So it was like my ACL on my right leg. Okay. Which I was it's kind of, as a skier, that's super scary. You're like, that's like the worst thing ever is blowing your ACL. So I was all spooked of it. But luckily by that point, I was with Red Bull, and they offer like incredible support for injured athletes, which is something I had no idea about. So great. But so cool. And it's really, really unique, especially in our world of like backcountry skiing or this like kind of the outdoor industry. There's a great. Nobody's doing that. No one's doing it. Yeah. Like we have no governing body. We're not in the Olympics. There's no one that like physically. There's no players association, because the NFL, football in America has 100% injury rate, but so does free skiing. Free skiing has 100% injury rate, but we have no support system unless you're with Red Bull. Right. Well, we got to get some stuff on the big screen. We need to somehow get some money and then get organized. Yeah, I think that'll help. Anyway, so was kind of introduced to the Red Bull like training facility, and they had full-time physical therapists and strength coaches, etc. And so I just went all in and like was like, I want to learn about this as much as I can and like train as much as I can. So I'd spend 2 weeks in LA, 2 weeks at home for like the whole process, basically. That's great. And so I felt amazing getting back on snow, and it was just like, let's go. So I did a trip to Japan. It felt really good. And then was like, all right, I'll just hop in the mix and film with TGR. So I drove up to BC and was shooting with TGR. And then I was on a trip, a winter camping trip with Nick McNutt and Sage Catabriga. And we weren't even filming. I was just trying to like
still do a few things to get my confidence back. Like I hadn't been doing any backflips. So I was like, oh, I just want to do a backflip. And then was hitting this wind lip. No one was even filming. They were like, I think Sage was maybe the only one who even saw it. And I like under rotated one. I was like, oh, that's lame. Then when over rotated one, I was like, okay, what am I doing? Like, I just got to go do it.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I just like landed right in my bomb hole.
Oh.
And it just like, yeah, my knee just crumpled.
Oh.
And it felt like the first time I blew it, it was like click, like it kind of over hyperextended. And I was like, oh, that feels weird. But then the second time it was like, whoa, that like hurts a lot.
Oh.
And then ended up, so I was like, I was pretty sure I blew it again, but again, we were camping.
Oh gosh, you're out there.
And it was pretty cold. That was the brutal part. It was like, there was a cold snap coming through. Is like one of the Arctic downflows or whatever.
I just had one in Canada. They're brutal. It's minus 20 Fahrenheit for 7 days.
Yeah. So we were camped out. I think I blew it on like the second or third day.
Of course.
So I ended up, I just kept shooting, actually.
Oh, wow.
I think all the shots I had in the movie that year were with the blown knee.
Whoa, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Which movie was that one?
I want to say it was like Dreamland or something.
Oh, you're going to go back and watch it. Like, here's Johnny with the blown knee.
Yeah, it was the 2019 flick.
Okay.
I want to say it was like Dreamland or something. I was wearing an orange jacket.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, dingoed my knee again. And then that one, since it was the same knee, they went in and I had to have like a bone graft put in to fill the hole from the previous surgery. And then I had to wait like 3 months
brutal
for that to heal in before they could do the reconstruction. So I blew it in like February and it turned out fine because for me, at least with the ACL, I was structurally still pretty good. Yeah, a lot of guys don't have ACLs.
Yeah.
Like I think Tanner Rainville doesn't have them. This guy Oakley at White Allen, I think he skied a long time without any. So it's, I didn't need it, I guess. To do like the level I want to do, I need it. But I still was able to, like the time that the bone graft was healing, I was still like mountain biking every day and like training in the gym, which was awesome because then I was able to go into the surgery like super strong.
Yeah.
And prehab. So that was incredible. And so I came out of the second surgery feeling great. And that rehab went pretty smooth, but it was late because I had the surgery in like June. So I got back on snow in January or February of 2020 and did one trip to Europe. It was like a retreat. And so I was a guest at this retreat. So it was like super fun, pow skiing, epic fun, like no stress kind of thing.
Yeah.
But COVID hit when we were over there.
Oh, so it was in March 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so it was like right at the time I was flying back right when it was like Europe was getting shut down.
Oh.
Kind of it, but then made it back. And then it was COVID. Everyone knows what happened during COVID. And then was able to get back on snow that next winter. Had a pretty good year. It was really fun. Like got to go up to Alaska with TGR again. Had an awesome time. And I was like, really, it wasn't the skiing I'd want to do mentally at that point, but like just the confidence of like a back-to-back knee injury and then going to Alaska. I was like pretty proud of my skiing.
Yeah, of course. And maybe you were with Elise, I think. Or is that right? Because I talked to her. I think I skied with her that year, and she's like, "Oh, Johnny was skiing so well in Alaska."
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I was psyched. So I was with Elise, Griffin Post, and Kate Zeliff. And then came home. I was home for like a day, and then I'd agreed to go do the Red Bull Raid contest out in Tahoe.
Yeah, at Palisades Tahoe.
Yeah, and I did it. I just figured it'd be fun because like I said no to doing Kings and Queens. And that was also the year Tanner Hall had blown his Achilles. Right. So the Freeride World Tour actually offered me his wild card spot, which I was incredibly honored to get. Yes. But it felt kind of, I was just like, I don't know, coming off of a couple injuries, and then it was COVID. I was like, I don't
Felt
think it'd be the
rushed.
smartest move for me to go compete. So I'd said no to like all these incredible things. So Red Bull was like, hey, well, do you want to come do this little contest for fun, kind of? And it was like, yeah, that sounds great. And
Red Bull Race, interesting, right? It's how fast you're timed on your uphill, and then you're judged on your downhill.
Yeah,
so
which I thought was like a cool format. I'm like, oh, that would be a fun thing to be a part of, see how the event goes, and like, I don't know, maybe there's room for more events like that. I enjoy ski touring, and then skiing fast down. So yeah, ended up going, and it was just it's like all local people that just signed up to do it, and they just wanted to have, I think, one sort of like pro skier there.
Yep.
And
Red Bull skier,
yeah, Red Bull skier, kind of like a measuring stick, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah, it just makes it fun.
Makes it fun for sure.
People want to ski. Fun. People want to ski with you, you know.
Yeah, it was. I guess I wanted to ski with them. There's probably more people there I wanted to ski with than wanted to ski with me. But yeah, it was cool. It was super fun. Like no stress, but it was just refrozen spring snow, and the contest happened pretty early in the day, so I hadn't thawed out much, and then. Yeah, ended up, I feel like I just kind of had the Alaska mentality going, because it was like 2 days after our Alaska trip.
Oh, wow.
Where like the last 3 days of the trip were when we skied all the good stuff. So I was kind of still in this like charging mindset, and then ended up just trying to charge this icy moguli thing, and had a super nasty spill and blew out my ACL, PCL, MCL, patellar tendon, and meniscus on my left leg. So it was just like mashed.
That's bad. I saw your Instagram post where you had scissors and you had a fake knee. It's anatomically correct. And you cut all of the ligaments, and then but I kept this one.
Yeah, it's like, I had the LCL was still hanging on.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah. So so that was a bummer for sure. I was just really, really devastated when that happened.
Oh, it's vicious.
Especially because it was like I'd put so much. I was like already back-to-back injuries, and I'd always thought like when I'd see people get hurt, it was like there's this funny stigma, I feel like, where it's like if you get hurt, it means you kind of fucked up. It's like
I don't like that.
No one's gonna say it, but it's kind of this stigma. Same thing as like an avalanche.
Yeah.
When an avalanche happens and you're like, ooh, like I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and it's like I think it's shifting. And I think people aren't,
especially with the avalanche stuff, people are getting
especially
better.
The avalanche stuff, and hopefully on the injury side too, because it's like it's not just a bad thing.
People, we're just doing our best, We're
just doing our best, and it's like you never know what could happen, but I was mostly bummed because of the back-to-back injuries. I never wanted to be injured in the first place, especially to be like the injured guy. Was like, man, that's a tough identity to pick up as the injured guy.
Yes.
And through the other ACLs, I'd like started to spend a lot of time learning about the body and like recovery processes, how to eat right. I'd quit drinking. There's like multiple things where I was like really trying to do everything correctly. So then to get like slammed with this injury, it was like, what am I doing? Like I was feeling so strong and good and healthy, and then it's just like this devastating injury. It's like, what? So that was like mentally tough to cope with. Just the like, what am I doing? Part of it alone, like I'm spending so much energy trying to be healthy and promote a healthy lifestyle, and then it's like, and I'm hurt again,
and worse this time,
and worse, like way worse. The other ones, in comparison, like for me, just the ACL was a breeze.
It's chill.
It was super chill. Like I woke up from surgery, it was like didn't need any pain meds. You start weight bearing 2 days later, like.
No worries.
It was like injury, but I almost with the ACLs, I almost had to like keep telling myself I was injured to keep it reeled in. you
Right.
know, like I gotta chill. But yeah, with this one, it was like,
Long haul.
long haul. Yeah, I had to dig pretty deep to get through that one.
Oof, dude, I can't. The mental challenge is the hardest part.
The mental, yes.
And how many surgeries for that one?
So it was 2 surgeries and then a manipulation. So I had.
What is a manipulation? But yeah, go through the 3. Yeah,
there's varying. As far as I understand it, a manipulation, like there's different levels. Like if you go to the chiropractor and get your back cracked, that's like technically a manipulation,
right?
But like a grade 1 or 2,
right?
So this would be more of a high level manipulation, like grade 5 or something like that.
Okay.
So, and basically what they do is they're just breaking up scar tissue.
Oof.
So what happens is, and it can happen from like any injury or surgery, just scar tissue builds up from like lack of movement, and it just, and like by the time I needed it, it was like we were spending like 5 to 7 hours a day at the Red Bull gym, like cranking on my knee, doing like every modality we could to get range of motion. Like,
damn,
it was so painful, and it was just like not making any progress, right? And like, or very, very little. And it was like, okay, well, we have to do something different. So by the time I needed the manipulation, it was like, please.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah. And so they just put you out with anesthesia,
okay,
give you a nerve block, and then they just reef on it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, like I think there's. Like,
I'd love to see a video. Yeah,
like they didn't film mine, I don't think, which I'm kind of bummed about. But you can look it up on YouTube. I'm pretty sure
I'll look it up.
Gnarly.
Yeah. So it's basically like bending your knee and getting it to move again.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, all right, this joint should do this, but it's not.
Right.
So they put you out so you can't like resist it at all. And it's like,
right. Wow.
But so that injury, the first surgery, they fixed the patellar tendon, which to me, I think was the gnarliest part, because basically it's like all your quad muscles go down, connect to your patella, and then your patellar tendon like kind of runs from your quad muscles over your patella, and then it turns into like technically a ligament from your patella attaching to your lower leg. Right. And it tore, you can kind of feel it. Like if you feel under your kneecap, there's like a thick ropey thing. So that was just snapped. Ooh. So it was like your quads. I remember laying in the snow after, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm fucked up right now. Oh. And I tried to straighten my leg, but your quad is what
you can't.
It. Nope. So like I just felt my quads like kind of like slinky up.
Oh,
like,
gross.
Oh God. And then I tried to like bend, like flex it, and my hamstrings were still connected. So I could like bend it. So I was like, oh, okay, like I can do something still. And,
oh God.
Yeah. So anyway, that first surgery fixed patellar tendon, MCL, meniscus. And then because of the patellar tendon damage, I had to be immobilized for a while. And that's what built up all the scar tissue.
Of course.
So then had the manipulation, and then tried to get strong because they wanted me to have a certain level of strength, like the prehab, before going in to fix the ACL and the PCL. Wow. So then that took a while. The injury happened April 2nd. I had the first surgery April 10th or 12th. The manipulation was June 18th. And then the last surgery was October 6th.
Ooh, it's a process.
So that just like put me out.
Yeah, that's half your year right there.
Yeah. And then like having the surgery on October 6th, it's like then you need 9 to 12 months.
Yeah, that season's gone.
That, which put us to October like 2 months ago.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So yeah, so it was a mish for sure. And it was like I just remember all of that summer being hurt. It was like rehabbing and trying to get strong, but just knowing that I was going to have like another surgery to start it all again. It was like, it was weird.
Oh, it's a mental screw, right? Like
it's a mental screw because like one day you're like God, I can't wait to be better. And like, I'm not going to get there if I don't do the work right now today. So it's like, I'm going to go do it. And then the next day it would be like, why? Like, I don't care about going.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I just won't get the second surgery. Maybe I'll just whatever. So it's just like such a weird battle up and down. But luckily is like had a lot of good people in my corner and like the whole Red Bull team. And I was really glad I had the knowledge from previous injuries of just like, there's going to be ups and downs, but you just focus on the ups and try and motivate yourself. So,
and let's focus on an up right now. Where are you at with your skiing right now?
Yeah. So a lot of up happening with skiing right now.
I'm so glad to hear
it. So like the coming out of it, like out of this whole injury thing, I really realized it was previously, it was like, oh, like when am I going to get back to skiing? I can't wait to get back skiing. And then it was just kind of this funny mental shift. And it was like, why am I trying to go back? Like I was doing all that stuff. It's like, there's so much stuff I can't wait to do that I've been excited to do. And I'm like, maybe this is just the little sticky note in the notebook. It's like, all right, time to like open up to a new chapter, like there's all kinds of stuff I've wanted to do that I've never done. This is my shot. This is like, only got one chance at this whole thing. So it's like, why don't I just do more? I mean, it's like, I feel like I had like an incredibly good life and did a lot of stuff through my whole career in my 20s. But it's like, now I have this like fire lit where I'm like, it's sunny, there's snow, like we're going. We're gonna find something to do. Is it a flat walk up a like really weird gully? Like, sure, let's go. I don't care. I just want to go. So anyway, I'm just like so beyond stoked to be on skis again and have my knee feel good skiing. And I really wanted this year to like stick around the Wasatch here at home. Because there's a ton of stuff I haven't skied here because I've spent my whole 20s like traveling to ski.
Right.
And it's always been like, oh yeah, I'd love to ski that or love to ski that.
But I'm getting on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah, totally. And so this year is like, all right, well, I'm just going to do it. And then it's been the most insane year. Like it was the best December of my life. Just factually. Like I think we got the most amount of snow in December in 4 decades.
It's insane, dude. Utah's been going off.
It's been going off. So it's just been such a blessing. Like every day, it's like, look at the forecast, like, oh, another storm coming in. And then it's like, all right, well, let's go ski this or go do this. And it's like, I'm having like a functional body to go move through the mountains or go do things you love is such a blessing. And it's like, I never, ever want to take that for granted again.
Well, I'm so glad that all these storms and this great early season has lined up with you being back, man. And to hear that December was the best month for you, it makes me really happy to hear that, man. And just to see your smile and your energy. I'm glad we're doing the podcast now and not 5 months ago or, when you weren't back yet. Like the timing is really good.
The timing is way better.
It's really, really good. And then I just wanted to brush on really quick. It kind of looks like you became like a fitness professional during your time of being injured because you had to do so much rehab. So just tell me really quick about that. And then I want to kind of jump in and talk about your sister a little bit.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So the fitness stuff I really love and have gotten excited about. Mostly because of the weird injury stigma thing, it was like, I just wanted to be as like transparent as I could about the journey, like just starting with my very first ACL. So I just started sharing the rehab I was doing and the training, and people
love
really,
that.
They were super into it.
People love it.
So like, I can only thank everyone who was like supporting those like posts I was putting out. So it just kept me wanting to post about it. And then it was like, oh, maybe I'll like build some workouts. And then I just got such an overwhelmingly positive response from people. And they're like, when are you going to put out like a program or this or that? And it felt really weird to me to just do that. Like to say like, oh, well, I'm a pro athlete. So I'm going to tell you, this number one trick will get you skiing hard, or like get abs in 20 minutes. It's just like, I'm not really into that. And I didn't want to just sell something based on being an athlete and not having like the actual knowledge. So during COVID, I started taking classes for exercise science.
Wow, that's great.
Like the first step of that was getting like your certified personal trainer, and then nutrition coach. So then through that course, it really allowed me to like learn properly how to build a program and like just the certain pieces you need to have like a good strength training program. And serendipitously at that same time, this app came to me about partnering with them to do a like ski fitness program.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, that would be sweet. Cause I mean, just give it a try. And basically I just had to write the programming, film the video exercises, send it to them. And that was it. It was like
perfect.
Like, extremely hands off. So like, cool, we'll just try this out, see how it goes. And yeah, it went super well. Like, I didn't have the issue I have with this. I didn't have any, like once I'd sent the videos in, that was it. I couldn't touch it.
Okay.
People had issues logging in. I couldn't help them.
And what was it called?
It's called Skier Fit.
Got it. Skier Fit.
That was their name. I was like, I came up with something I felt better about, but they're like, no, it has to be Skier Fit. I'm like,
okay.
All right. I guess if you say so. Marketing gurus over there. But,
exactly.
But I'm pretty grateful they reached out to me because it was a really cool opportunity with low lift on my end to get a glimpse into like what's possible. So anyway, long story short, I was really, really excited to like keep building and like felt like I could have this ski career here and kind of begin this fitness career here. And then I got hurt. So it felt like I kind of had to pick and choose a little bit, or at least be like, all right, if I want to continue my skiing career, I need to put a lot of effort into like making that happen. And so the whole fitness stuff is a little bit on the back burner right now, and I'm just simmering on it. And my main focus is skiing right now.
But how cool that you had that outlet while you were injured, and you couldn't ski then anyway.
Yeah. So it was it was just great. Like I learned so much for myself, and then what I was able to share. Cause like, honestly, what made me want to do it was just the positive feedback people would give. And I get all these like amazing messages.
I love it. I'm so glad.
People, especially during COVID.
Oh,
I was like,
home workouts.
COVID was when everyone was kind of in lockdown, decided not to go out that much and ski. Whatever, that whole time was kind of weird. We don't need to talk about it. But anyway, I went with the route of like, well, I'll just film a workout every day and put it out on my Instagram. And it just, I don't know, it feels like it got a lot of traction, and people were, I just got a lot of messages that people were like, dude, this helped me out. Like,
dude, it went huge, man.
Yeah.
It went huge.
They're like, COVID sucks, and just doing your little workouts has been awesome. Like a little segment of the day. So it was just really uplifting for me, feeling like I was finally like giving something back a little bit. It's like through my whole ski career, it's like, wow, skiing's cool. And then I show people like how cool I am, but there's not much beyond like inspiration.
There's not a lot of connection or relatability.
Yeah. And like the tangible takeaway of like, all right, here's some like a new workout, or if you're interested in this, like a little tidbit. So it felt like a really cool outlet to like start giving back a little bit in a way. And that's what I really love about it. And so it's not going anywhere. It's snowing a lot right here now. So I'm like focused on that, and I can't wait to figure out how to like balance the two later.
I think it's great, man. And so if people wanted to follow you and check out these workouts, what should they do?
Probably just my Instagram, John Collinson on Instagram.
That's what I follow. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll post it there. And I'm working on, I'd like to start doing more on YouTube and start doing like more in depth, because Instagram now it's like so fast.
Right.
It's like, I feel like I have to put it on a reel, and then it's like it's not really helping anyone. So, you know what I mean?
It's do both.
Yeah. So I'd like to start doing it more on YouTube. So if people actually want to like see a cool workout, it can live there and
it's easy. You can pause and go back and all that.
Yeah, totally. So that's my goal, is to do a bit more on there and then later develop maybe some more programming stuff.
I love it, man. Well, I want to jump in real quick to your big sister, Angel.
Yeah.
And so she's also she was at this point now a very famous free skier. And she stepped away from skiing to do new things. But I'm so curious, what was your relationship like with Angel as a kid, when you guys were kids skiing around?
I mean, she was just and
you lived in a closet together.
Big sister. Yeah, I lived in a closet, but she was just the best big sister ever. Still is. Yeah, like, I mean, we never fought growing up. Like, I remember one fight when we were little, but that's it.
Wow, that's rare.
Yeah, super rare, because I think it was a part of it, just living in such close quarters and not that many other kids and not like a big friend group where I had my crew and she had hers. It was like we had our family. And so it's like, yeah, you're not going to just, and we're living in a van and a closet. Like, we're not getting away from each other, you know? Nope. So
might as well get along.
I just think there wasn't like room for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. And how close are you guys now? You know, what's your relationship like now?
I'd say we're like extremely close, but much more on a like emotional level. We don't talk very often. So when we do, it's pretty special. And it's like when she comes through town now, she'll stay at my place and it's like so fun to have her here. But it doesn't ever feel like, it feels like she's like right there all the time. If you know what I mean? And like, I could always just reach out via text or whatever, but it almost feels like I don't need to, because we just feel kind of connected. And then when we do catch up, it's always awesome.
That's so fun. And yeah, how has it been? How do you feel about her decision to move away from skiing?
What I want more than anything is for her to be happy.
Yes.
And it was really tricky, actually, like that whole decision-making process, because it was more of a like communication. So that was actually the only time we ever got in a fight in our whole life.
Interesting.
Because I didn't know what she needed from me. And like my way of solving things is like offering solutions.
Yes.
You know, and so she's like, I'm not into this. And I'm like, oh, well, let's go ski tour. Like, you know, I was like trying to help her like.
And that's the classic men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing. If you've read those books. Yeah.
Yeah. So
men offer solutions, and a lot of times women want you to just listen and understand. Yeah.
She's like, it boiled down to, she's like, I just want you to support my decision. I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, I do.
I could do that.
Yeah. Like, I got you. But because also for me, I couldn't possibly think about that.
Right. Well, stepping away from skiing.
Yeah. Like, it's what drives me. It's what's gotten me through like so many injuries, and like, or not gotten me through, but it was the pile of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, it's a motivation. I mean, you fought so hard to get skiing.
Yeah, it was a goal to get on skis again. And then, so yeah, I just couldn't, and I'm like, my number one goal is to just be able to ski till I'm old and like go ski tour mellow pal laps, wherever it might be. So I just had a really hard time wrapping my head around wanting to step away, and all she needed was my support, really, just on a pretty basic level. And so once we'd figured that out, it was gravy.
Perfect. Nice.
Gravy's a good thing, right? When you're like, it's all gravy.
Gravy's a very good thing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know that was a really pivotal thing in her life, and obviously in yours too, and to get a little insight into that, because I know you guys were both on Red Bull. I know you've done a lot of photo shoots and filmed together, gone on trips together.
Yeah.
So you probably even miss her a little bit in that realm.
For sure. It was like, having our careers at the same time. Yeah, we shared pretty much all the same sponsors.
That's great.
For most of it. And then, yes, it was like having a sister, a best friend, a mountain partner, a business partner, like just on every level. We were like had so many things in common to like help each other with. But what was, I think, beautiful was we are such vastly different people.
Yes.
So like there was so many things we could connect on and bring our two unique views on, if that makes sense. You know, like maybe it was an issue in the mountains and it's like we just have different perspectives, or maybe it was like a transition with a company or a brand. It was like we both had different views on it, and so yeah, it was really special getting to like share so many years of that with.
Well, it's just somebody who has a set of eyes and a brain that you can trust, and they're seeing it from a different angle than you. So when you come together on that same subject, you're like, oh, really? You're seeing it like this? I'm seeing it like this. And you just you get so much more learning. Any kind of partner like that in life is extremely valuable, I think.
Yeah. But it's pretty funny because we're just so different on a personal level, and what we like and enjoy and want to spend our time doing is like couldn't be different.
Yeah, that's great.
Or couldn't be more different, I mean.
But it sounds like she's doing well now, and I wish her all the best. I really think she's a special person.
She's incredible, and like anyone who meets her is lucky to have that encounter for sure.
Yeah,
in my mind. And yeah, so right now, just for backstory on her, she left skiing professionally to go sail. She's always like loved the ocean, and her partner Pete are living on their sailboat Sea Bear.
So cool.
And right now they're still in Panama, but they did like last summer they did a transatlantic, so they went from Maine to the Azores, and then came back across, spent last winter in the Caribbean, and then they've kind of been bouncing around there all this year. It's very fluid, and they're living on the edge.
I love it. And the Azores are Portuguese islands that are way out in the middle of the ocean in the Sargasso Sea, which I learned means seaweed sea, because I guess the way the current moves in the Atlantic, it dumps a bunch of seaweed in that part of the ocean, which I thought was I was reading about it the other day. And then also on another note, I just read the Outside magazine article about Angel. I don't know if you read that. You kind of know, you know her, so you don't have to read it. But for us, it's a really cool article. So I recommend that too.
She was really psyched on it too.
She should be, because it's really
how it turned out.
It's really well done.
Cool.
And for like a cool, empathetic, understanding point of view, I thought that was great.
Right.
And so we'll go from a really important topic to one even importanter, is hair. So John, you had incredible, luscious locks of blonde hair, or you used to, and you cut them off. But first, I want to start with, you got second place in the Powder Magazine's first annual Ski Town Hair Down. But who the F did you lose to?
I think Marcus Caston.
No way.
Yeah. Well, his video, I mean, it was all about the video.
Oh, it was like flipping his hair and stuff.
He crushed it. I can't, it was like rollerblading. He was like rollerblading.
Oh.
He's like a really good, I mean, he's just an insane athlete, but
he is
really good rollerblader. So I think he had some like rollerblading hair, like just super well made video. It was hilarious. Oh, everyone was good though.
Yeah, I feel like it was an upset though, man. I thought you were a shoo-in for the win. And so your hair didn't. Yeah, how long ago did you cut it? You cut your hair off, and why did you cut it?
Yeah, so I cut it. Well, actually, like the summer of COVID.
Okay.
And I cut it then, but then I buzzed it this summer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I like the buzz a lot. It's so easy.
It's so good. I had nipple length hair for 3 times in my life. When I was in high school, did it again in college, did it again when I first started ski bumming, and now I'm pretty much bald. I just have like a trimmer. I just keep it totally short, and I love it. It's so much better. All the hair, even when I had short hair, you have to style it and try to look.
Yeah, cool. Exactly. I
like
suck
going
at
out to the bar. Yeah, it's terrible at that. It's like this.
And
is
my hair,
awesome.
like I don't have good hair. Like when it was long, it looked good, but like my short hair, it's not like good hair. So I have to style it, or else wear a hat. So anyway, so I cut it for a few reasons. Mainly, I was just over it because I had it. My dad made me cut it pretty short, I think after Everest.
Okay.
Yeah, because it got like decently long, like chin length, or maybe not even after Everest. And then I had all these interviews, of course, with like local newspapers or whatever after. So my dad was like, we're going to clean you up.
You look like a punk.
Yeah. So he cut it, and then I didn't cut it again until I chopped it all off.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because it was long. It was really long.
It was long. It was like, yeah, by the time I cut it, it was nipple length or longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like 10 years of dealing with it in the mountains and like, on like month-long camping trips or this and that. It was just such a pain.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was part of it. A part of it was the identity, where I really felt like it was like, oh yeah, he's like the blonde skier guy,
the long hair dude. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just kind of like, you know what? I don't want my hair to be my identity, you know?
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And it also, part of it too was aesthetically, I think through all the surgeries, or like the first, because at that point I'd had 2 ACL surgeries. Oh. And I just started to like lose a lot of hair. So I had these like kind of balding spot, or not balding spots, but like when I had long hair, it made me feel like I was Homer Simpson or Gollum or something, where it would just look like really like weird and greasy and long. And it was like, this is just a bad look. I'm not psyched on it. So gotta go.
Well, thank you for that. That was more insight than I expected on that. Thank you.
Yeah. So it was multiple layers for sure. Yeah.
Nice. So I'm gonna say some words that I think will have an impact on you. Is Alta, Snowbird, Wasatch Mountains, Utah. And so just the blunt question is, how do you feel about the Wasatch Mountains of Utah?
I mean, I love it here. Yeah, it's been my home, and I've gotten the opportunities of a lifetime, like traveling all over the world and getting to ski and travel and be in these like amazing places and ranges. But I don't know, there's just something about it here that I really like. And it's changing, you know, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't my favorite now. But
how has it changed?
Just the same as anywhere else. A lot of people, mostly, you know, so it's just like the amount of people coming in, it just affects everything. Like, I mean, I think everyone in any sort of mountain town or mountain area feels it. And Salt Lake, I think, was a bit more insulated than smaller towns just because we're so much bigger, but it's become quite apparent recently that it's happened here. But, you know, it's like with all of that stuff, what doesn't change is the mountains, you know, and that's what it's always about, is just like the actual landscape and the actual mountains to me, and everything else is a choice. You know, it's like, okay, well, you can't change it. You can't change the amount of people. You can't change the traffic. You can't change how fast the snow gets cooked. But like having the access to the mountains here, both summer and winter, is pretty great.
It's pretty special. I've been based in Utah since 2018, and I knew nothing about the Wasatch, and then getting, you know, trapped there during quarantine, during COVID, and I was like, well, got to ski, you know, Timpanogos, and I skied Nebo, and, you know, as much as the, you know, normal stuff in the Cottonwoods as I could, and got Andrew McLean's shooting gallery and started checking off stuff, and it's like, wow, this is pretty. It's a tiny little mountain range with an insane amount of bang for your buck access and cell phone coverage. It's a really unique place. It's really special. And the snow's phenomenal.
That's what I love about it, is the bang for your buck.
Yeah. It's high.
Like you can be door to door. Like you can go ski one of the best objectives door to door, like pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Like
minimal. And that's another thing. There's like not many flat approaches. No, like you're basically skinning vertical, and door to door. So it's a good place for getting out frequently.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, even, you know, we talked about Mount Superior at the beginning of the podcast, and, you know, I'm not super fast, but I can be like car to car 3 hours, and like I've skied just the coolest run, and fast guys like you probably doing it in less than 2. You know, it's incredible out there.
It's super great.
And if I had to put you on the spot, Alta or Snowbird?
I would say, so like Alta is much better early season. We'll go just terrain.
Okay.
well, just based on snow and terrain.
Mm-hmm.
I like Alta a lot more early season.
Mm-hmm.
And then when things fill in, I like ski and snowbird.
Cool. I like that's a clean answer. Everybody wins.
Everyone wins. But
and
I have a lot of nostalgia for snowbird. Like growing up there, it was quite formative for me, like as a skier, as a person,
Oh, man.
all sorts of stuff. So like snowbird's special, but I probably right now I spend a lot more time at Alta.
Nice.
So it's a toss up.
Mm-hmm. So if you grew up in snowbird employee housing in a closet with your sister, and your mom homeschooled you in the wintertime, were you let free on powder days? Like that was a priority? Is it possible you had more powder days as a kid as almost anybody?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it, right? I mean, that must have been a really wild place to grow up.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we did like have a lot of focus on the actual schooling and the academic side.
Mm-hmm.
And so the school was pretty special. My mom taught my sister and I, and then Anna Wieringa, who used to be the general manager of Alta.
Mm-hmm.
He had a daughter Angel's age and a son my age.
Perfect.
So my mom taught them.
Oh.
And then another fella, Howie Howlett, who worked at Alta Snow Safety. Mm-hmm. His daughter Danny was with us, and this other girl Tess.
Oh, so it was like a little mini school.
A little mini school.
That's so great.
And we'd only come together in the winter. So most of the other kids, they lived in Montana or Washington or wherever, and they'd be public school there. And then just for when the resorts were spinning, everyone would be here.
Wow, so that is
really unique.
That's a unique upbringing, man. Wow. Yeah.
And the catch was like we would just follow the curriculum of our school that we were in. Mm-hmm. So my mom was like really teaching 6 different subjects, 6 different curriculum. It was pretty wild.
That's hard.
And the catch was that we had to be able to like go back to our public school and just like fit
like didn't miss a beat.
That was the catch. So it was like we had to keep up with everything. We had to have like straight A's basically, or like as good a grades as we could was the main focus. Mm-hmm. And as long as that was getting the forefront, we could ski powder. And
that was your life until you were 8, like all of your schooling.
That was wow. Mom only had her elementary ed.
Okay.
So I think that got us to 8th or 9th grade.
Okay.
And then after that, there was different opportunities opening up for schooling after that. So for me, that was a lot of online and like packets, like BYU University here offered these high school packets of classes. So like, that's how I did the 7 summits was I'd bring like, it was funny as hell. Like we'd get down through the Khumbu ice fall. Everyone's like chilling, like drying their gear, and I'm doing like my math quiz.
Oh my God.
Camp, and like, so it was pretty cool. Amazing. Like BYU offered these packets, and then they ran some like contest. Like, what do you use our packets for? And if we choose you to be the winner, we'll send you like a year's worth of free packets and like a computer to do schoolwork.
if you're good at, you won. No way. If you're good at school, we'll send you more school.
Exactly. Won myself a year of free school.
That's so cool.
But it was pretty sweet because I think the packets or the classes were like a couple $100 a pop.
Oh yeah.
So helped out.
That's so cool, man. Congrats.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, it was rad. And then I think I might be wrong, but I don't think so. I think Angel and I were the only people to be fully raised living up the canyon.
I bet that's right, dude. Nobody. I mean, it's impossible.
Have, like, raised kids to a certain age and then moved out or been in and out, but we were like full-time employee housing until we were both 18.
Wow, what a special place. And it's
pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it's difficult to access on a good day. So just to be there and walk out, no automobiles in your daily life is just beyond cool.
Yeah, it was really special. Like I remember my mom would go down to the valley to get groceries, but she'd just do like a big old Costco run, and then we wouldn't go back down for like weeks. I feel like.
Wow, that's so
maybe that was
cool,
my
man.
little kid brain stretching time, but that's what it felt like.
I'm jealous. It's what a crazy cool way to grow up, man. So transitioning from that to what's next. What's next for you, man? What's next for you in your journey, Johnny?
I mean, I like I was saying, I'm just so lit up by getting out and skiing right now and taking advantage of the conditions we have and a healthy body, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I'm really excited to just keep pushing myself a bit. And both on the ski side, plus I've started like biking a bit. So I'm really excited to do a bit more like gravel biking this next year. And then the whole fitness side of things too. I'd really like to start, kind of like my own fitness business and start.
You should
doing. I don't know exactly what, but have a lot of ideas. So there's a lot of different things happening and that I can put energy into, and I feel like super grateful that I have so many avenues I can go and so many things I can try and spend my time doing.
True power in life, I think, is having options. So when you feel like you have options, you feel like you have agency in this world. And so I'm super pumped to hear that's the way that you're feeling. I'm so stoked that you're feeling healthy, that you're skiing again. I really am going to bug you when I'm back in Utah, dude. I'm slow on the skin track, but I'd love to go out.
I'm not that fast.
Let's go do, you are. Let's go do a little Superior one day. That's my favorite run on the Wasatch, and it's so easy to get to.
Absolutely.
But Johnny, that's all I got for you, man. Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share here at the end of the show?
Dude, this is always the part where I'm like, no, I'm all good. And then I get in the shower later and I'm like, damn, I should have said this really meaningful thing.
Yeah.
So, and now again, I'm blanking on what to say, but I mean, I would just like to put it out there that I am like so grateful for the sponsors I have to help me through this injury process. And I also want to say, like, I think a lot of people looked at the injury process and it was like, dang, so motivational and like get through it, which I appreciate, but it's like, I do feel that I was in a very, very special position where it was my job to get better. And all I did was take advantage of that as much as I could. So I just wanted to like, get that out there that I'm grateful for the support, and I couldn't have really spent as much time rehabbing unless my sponsors were supportive of me.
I was jealous because normally when we go through injuries, we'd have no feedback, and you were getting daily feedback, which is so valuable.
Feedback plus the not having to go to work, just the time. It was like my time and energy could go into getting better, and that was priceless. And like, I was just so grateful not to have to work a day job and be rehabbing. So I kind of just wanted to put that out there and not to like linger on the whole injury thing too much. But I will say that the identity crisis of going through it was mentally quite tough. And it felt like I had to just do it alone because I was cut off from the snow community that I'd lived in my whole life. And it made a big difference, kind of like coming out of the injury, and I'm like re-interacting with these snow communities, and it's like a family, but that's just so hard when you get hurt. You're like cut from the family, sort of. And so I just would say to anyone like going through an injury or you get injured or whatever it might be, that it's like, it gets tough mentally to be clipped from the community because you can't like physically be there. And B, that I will always want to do a better job of like checking in on my friends that are hurt, because it's just like there's so many ups and downs, and you never know what someone's going through and what they're going to shrug off. But like just sending one text in a 9-month process is like, I mean, it means something at that time, but I really challenge myself to like check in more on my friends when I know they're hurt.
That's great advice, because we all have those friends. Because again, in this sport, it's 100% injury rate, and so bringing over a bottle of wine and a couple of burritos and hanging out for dinner once in a while too.
That kind of stuff is mega for sure.
Huge.
And
Huge.
So yeah, I would just say that.
Dude, thank you so much for that. That is really cool insight, and all of us, bringing that empathy and that perspective and that understanding has so much value, and on a lot of things too. When people are going through a hard time, people have been checking in on me, when I went through something difficult recently, and it is earth shaking.
Yeah,
so I appreciate you saying that, Johnny. It was so good talking to you today, man. I really enjoyed this on a personal level.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, man. Have a great rest of the day, and I'm going to bug you, and we're going to go skiing.
Yeah, do it. Well, you crushed it, dude. You're a great podcast host, so thank you for having me.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening to the SnowBrains podcast. If you liked this podcast, please share with your friends and family, and please subscribe. To find out more about SnowBrains, please visit us at snowbrains.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SnowBrains. Today's episode of the SnowBrains podcast is brought to you by Lakey. Not all ski poles are created the same. The Lakey Trigger 3D Grip is an innovative design that replaces traditional straps and connects your hands directly to the grips, enhancing comfort, security, and performance. This proven technology can be found in many Lakey products, ranging from World Cup ski race poles used by Michaela Schifrin to those used by recreational skiers across the country. Experience the Lakey Trigger system once, and you'll never go back to traditional straps again. Learn more about Trigger 3D at lakey.com. This episode of the SnowBrains podcast is brought to you by your Northern California Toyota dealer. Family fun adventures begin at Palisades Tahoe, and the best way to get there is in the Sequoia TRD Pro Hybrid. The iForce Max twin-turbo V6 hybrid engine packs a punch with 437 horsepower while still giving you up to an EPA estimated 22 miles per gallon. That's amazing. So you can feel the power without feeling it at the pump. It's made for adventure and made for the mountain. Visit buyatoyota.com/NorCal for more details and start your next adventure in a brand new Toyota, the official vehicle of Palisades Tahoe. This episode of the SnowBrains podcast was edited by Jared White, music by Chad Crouch, and I'm your host, producer, and creator, Miles Clark.